to be recorded. And I just want to welcome you. This is a session about screencasting. I'll talk a little bit more in detail about that, but first I wanted to introduce myself. I know some folks in the room, not everybody, but my name is Chris Davis. I'm a virtual learning specialist with IU8, and I have a couple of other IU staff with me. My co-host today is Pat, so she'll be watching the chat area and she'll be helping out here as we move along. Pat, do you want to say a hello?
Sure. How's everybody doing today? And I noticed some of you all from our cohort, so I'm glad to see you here getting more help. And if there's anything we can do, just let us know in the chat. Thanks for joining us today.
Definitely. So a couple things. I know all of you have probably been in Zoom quite a bit now, so I just wanted to invite you at any time today to use the microphone. If you have a question or want to give some information or you want to talk with us, just go ahead and unmute your microphone to talk. That's totally fine. Your video is optional. I see many of you are using your video, which is great. It's just nice to feel like there's someone on the other side, but that's totally your choice. You can have it on or off. The chat area, I would encourage you to open that chat box because we will be putting links in the chat that are relevant to what we're showing. And it's also a good place where you can ask questions. And like I said, Pat will keep an eye on the chat, so she'll let me know if there's something I need to stop and answer. Right, Pat?
All right, this is exciting. I love screencasting. I love the tricks you're going to show. I'm going to try along with you.
And polling we're not going to do during the session, so you won't have to worry about that so much. So just to make sure we're all on the same page, screencasting has been around for quite a while now, but in case it might be new to you because you might have never had a need to do it before. So just to kind of define it right from the outset, a screencast is just a recording of your screen. So it's just capturing what's happening on your screen and making a video of that. Usually it involves audio narration. So you're talking along with the steps that you're showing on your screen. It can also include other things. So it's not just video and audio. It might also have images that are layered on top of your video. Or you might be using a second video source to make like a document camera if you need to show something that you're writing on. And your video of yourself, your face, can be a part of your screencast, but it doesn't have to be. You also sometimes will have the opportunity to annotate in a screencast. So you can see I'm using Google Slides and I have this pointer right now, this laser pointer. And so it's not really annotating, but it is pointing out and signaling where I am. Different screencasting apps will let you do that as well. And some will even let you add materials or add information while you're recording or after you're recording. So like texts or shapes or lines. And then some also will let you really focus on where your mouse is, and that's what my laser pointer is helping with right now. But some screencasting apps will let you have like a spotlight where your mouse is, or maybe a halo, a circle around your mouse. So it's really easy for your learners to see what you're pointing to on the screen. So all of these are features that can exist in screencasts. So again, just a video that you create, capturing your screen, and maybe some of these other things too. So I just wanted to kind of put this out there because when I saw this stat, it did surprise me. I knew that videos were obviously a very popular thing, but I guess I didn't realize how much of internet traffic is attributed to watching videos. And so it's estimated that by the end of 2022, 82% of internet traffic will be based on watching videos. So I just thought that was pretty significant and a pretty good reason to maybe delve into creating videos. This article that's linked here that this pulls from has all kinds of interesting statistics, and I'll come back around to some others a little bit later in the presentation. But at this time, I would just like to see in this group that's here right now, have any of you ever created your own screencast, maybe to use with learners or maybe to share with a colleague? And you can either use the annotating tools in Zoom to put a mark on the yes side or the no side, or you can just type in the chat area. But what I'm looking for from you is, have you ever made a screencast? And if you're not sure where the annotating tools are, you can look up probably toward the top of your screen under options. And I'm watching the chat too. Some no's, some yeses. Some of those yeses I suspected would be yeses, Brenda and Jen. All right. And it's no problem if you haven't. If you have, then some of this information you may know already that I'm going to share with you today, but maybe there'll be some tips that you hadn't heard before. All right, so we have some marks on the screen too for yeses and nos. It looks pretty equal across the board. All right. Okay, so we're going to do another, yeah, I appreciate the annotating on the board. It does help me to know that about, maybe half of you have and half of you haven't. That definitely helps me to know that information. So now I'm going to ask you to just kind of think, maybe you've already done a screencast, so you already know what your answer would be to this question. But if you've never done a screencast, now that you've heard the definition of it, what can you envision would be a reason why you would make a screencast? So as an educator, what would you make a screencast for? And I have a place that I want you to answer this. So let me share my screen here. This is a poll, and I'm hoping that it's showing okay for you all. You can answer this poll. This is a poll everywhere poll. It's not a Zoom poll. And as you type your answers to this poll, it's going to kind of populate the white space on this screen. So I just want to kind of see if we can get some responses here. You can answer this poll by going to this web address. It's just pollev.com/ChristineDave185. Or on your phone, you can text this Christine Dave 185 to this number. And I can put up a QR code too. So you could hover your phone over that to get to a place where you can answer this question. So again, the question is, what would you use a screencast for? Think about, as an educator, why you would want to make one. I'll definitely share some ideas with you after this, but I want to get some ideas from you. And maybe I can put that web link in the chat area. It might make it a little easier too. I can see some of your answers coming in, so that's great. If you need a web address, it's in the chat. I'll make this big again. All right, so as you're submitting your ideas, it's adding them to this word cloud. So submissions, looks like maybe submissions for students submitting work and showing you something, demonstrating that they can complete a problem. A lot of assignments we're picturing using screencasting for students to submit assignments. Math is a big one. Oh, a phrase got separated. Which phrase, what were the parts that should go together, Brenda?
Okay, I was typing and it was taking too long. I said tutorial for tutorial for student assignment submissions in Google Classroom.
Gotcha.
It got all separated.
Yeah, that's all right. We get the idea.
Yeah,
So did mine.
Yep, so a poll like this works best for one-word answers. And obviously, the question I asked you doesn't lend itself well to one-word answers. But you could, I probably should have given this directive, you could just put your words together without the space, and then that we would see phrases that are connected, or use a hyphen instead of a space. But that's okay. We're still getting the idea. It's a lot. It seems like an emphasis in your answers on students showing you things, which is great. Some tutorials too, you showing them things. Great. Okay, so I'm going to move along, but if you didn't get a chance to get your idea there and you would like to, you can put it in the chat area, or if you have that page open, you can still add to it. I'll bring it back up at the end in case there are new additions. So just wanted you to think about ways that you might be able to use a screencast, some different reasons for using one. This is an example of a teacher's screencast. So as many of you said, you could show your students something. It could be a lesson that you're presenting to them. I know a lot of emphasis in the last few weeks has been on live instruction and using Zoom to meet with your students, but that's not always possible, either because of your schedule, their schedule, and sometimes there's an advantage to them watching a video asynchronously of a learning concept. And so you can record an instructional video to replace maybe a part of a live session, or you could record a screencast, an instructional video, to kind of preempt a live session so that you can use your live session differently. So this is an example, and I'm only going to play maybe 10 seconds of it just as a way to show you the visuals that she's using. So it's not really about the sound here. As a matter of fact, you probably won't even hear the sound, but I just want you to notice the visuals that she's using and the way it's really spread out. Just by looking at this first image, can you make a guess of an age range this might be for, this first screen? I'll play it while you're thinking about that. Okay, and I just stopped. I zoomed ahead in a couple places just because I wanted you to see the imagery, and I see some guesses in the middle or in the chat there, maybe elementary or lower middle school, upper elementary, lower middle school. So yeah, I mean, all those are definitely good guesses. I'm not exactly sure. This is a screencast I found, but just notice that that is an important factor, is thinking about what you present and how you present it can really make a difference as to whether students really watch and learn from the screencast that you make. So here are some reasons, for some of the reasons that you may make a screencast. You gave some great ideas in that poll, but some other ideas, maybe you do it to save time. Maybe there's a question that a lot of your students are asking and you realize that you need to back up a little bit and provide some more instruction on a piece of a concept. So that might be a good reason to make a screencast, so you don't have to continually answer the same question again. So it's sort of like an opportunity to reteach. It also, and this is a huge significant reason to make a screencast, it gives the learner some control over the time that they watch it. They get to choose when, the pace that they watch it, because maybe they need to pause more often, maybe they need to rewind. They can skip ahead. It just gives the learner a lot of control over their learning. In a live environment, there's a little bit of that, but only if they speak up. So if they don't speak up and let you know that something's not clicking for them, you can race through your live presentation, probably kind of like I'm doing right now, and they don't have the ability to pause, stop, rewind, fast forward. Now, if you share your live recording, that's another way of screencasting. So I'm going to share this live recording after the session, and you'd be able to rewatch it so that you can do those things. Another good reason to use a screencast is it gives a sense of one-on-one connection. So when you're in a live session, if there's just one student or a couple students, you can give that sense. If you're in a live session where there's 30 students, it feels a little bit less personal for the learners, and it's a little harder to connect individually with every student. So when you give an instructional video for them to view, there's an opportunity for them to feel like it's a one-on-one connection. And if it's feedback that you're giving, you can make it very personalized. You can use the student's name and you can be very specific. So it's not always about making an instructional video to teach something. It might be about responding to something that they've shown you or submitted to you. You can also use a screencast to support absent learners. So if you screencast something that you know they're going to need to know for that week and someone happens to be absent, I'm talking about in the when you're back in your face-to-face environments. Having screencasts available can help those learners who might be out for an extended period of time. That also comes back to the first one, saving you time, because I'm sure if you've been in the classroom, you know what it can be when you've got your 28 students on pace for the next step, and then you have your 1 or 2 that missed the last step, so you're trying to juggle all of that. So having screencasts can definitely support the learners and save you time both. The other thing, and I think this is another significant one, is connecting the dots the way you want to. So would love some responses in the chat on this to see if I'm alone in this or to see if this is universal among a lot of people. But have you ever been on a search for a video about a concept that you want to put in a course, or that you want to share with your students, or that you want to show somebody, and you can't find the perfect one? So you spend a lot of time looking for the perfect video. You know, maybe it's a certain concept you want your students to learn, but you don't like the way the video presenter actually presented it or the steps they used. Or maybe you don't like the quality of the video, or maybe it just seemed too long, or maybe it left some gaps. Anybody ever experienced going on a video search and it takes forever? Or maybe you start on a search and you get distracted by other things, and so your initial intention gets a little bit lost when you start looking for the perfect video. Yeah, all the time, Pat says. I'm glad to know
Yep,
I'm not
all the
alone.
time. Yeah, I mean, think about it. I mean, all of you probably, you know, in this work, as you've been working more remotely, you get stuck. So yeah, good points, Chris.
Yeah, and I think that if you can make your own, if you feel confident to make your own videos, maybe you don't make all of them, but if there's that one that you're having trouble finding the perfect video for, you can make it, and you can set the stage the way you would normally describe it for your students. So you're connecting the dots the way you would if you were able to sit one-on-one with them. And then of course you can make videos to give instructions or to clarify instructions, because when you're working with students virtually, they need a lot of explicit instructions and they don't always read text. And so making a video is just another way to be really clear about what's expected of them. Okay, so let's think of the flip side now, and you answered some of this in the poll. We're not going to do another poll everywhere poll, but just in the chat area, maybe you could give some ideas of why you think students might make a screencast, educational screencasts. Why do you think a student might make a screencast? So if you could type some thoughts in the chat area, I'll pause for a minute and let you do that. Okay, showing what they know. Demonstration, yep. Demonstration, show, all of that. Excellent. So this one is a student example. Now this is a little different. I mean, it qualifies as a screencast, but it's done on an iPad where the student is actually writing with their finger on the screen. And so it is still capturing a screen. It's just a little different. It's not on a desktop, and it's not, you know, it's not like from a PowerPoint or something. So I'm gonna stop and restart my sharing so that I can make sure you can hear the audio on this one, just because it's cute. Oh, maybe not. Well, that's okay, you'll still be able to see the student working out the problem.
I'm going to do a method of multiplication expanding method. So first what I do is I break it up and I write 90 times 4. So I cross off the 0 to make it easier, and 9 times 4 is 36.
So I
and
won't
it's
play the whole
always
thing
good to
through.
make.
I just wanted you to see what it can look like when a student captures a screencast to demonstrate their work. So in this one, the student was talking through their steps. So it's really accomplishing two things. They're showing you that they can lay out the steps. They're showing you the order of their steps, and it goes on quite a bit. But there's also a voice there that you may not have heard, and the student is explaining. And so that just helps the concept move to a different level of understanding when not only can they replicate steps, but they can explain them as well. So some other reasons students might screencast, I mean, obviously demonstrating and showing what they know, but they could also create a video or a screencast to reflect on their work. Their screencast might not be about what they're doing on their screen. Their screencast might just be a video of them talking. And so it could be to reflect on their work, or you could give students a document or a website that they are supposed to read from, and they could record themselves reading that while the website is on their screen or while the document is on their screen, so that you can kind of measure their fluency. While they're reading, you can hear it and you can see the words they're supposed to be saying. You can also use screencasting for telling a digital story or letting them tell a digital story. They can illustrate it, they can make books online, they can use slideshows to do that and then narrate them. They could make book trailers, book reviews. So all of that can be done with a combination of tools, but screencasting is the tool to capture it all. Okay, so let's look at two different screencasting tools at this time. And one of them is Screencastify, the other one is Screencast-O-Matic. And they both do the same thing, they just have a few different features. So let's talk about those features a little bit. You, of course, when you experiment, you can try whichever one you want. Screencastify is a Chrome extension. So it's an extension you add to your Chrome browser, which makes it really easy to begin and stop your screen recording. It's also free, and there is a limitation with the free, there is a limitation with the free account, and that is that there's a 5-minute recording limit. So it will stop your recording after 5 minutes. If you want more time than that, or you want more features, there is a paid version, and I put the prices here just so you'd know how they compare. I would say though that usually you don't want to make videos that are much over 5 minutes anyway, because you will start to lose their attention after that. So usually that 5-minute time frame is not a deal breaker. You can, if you have a concept that takes longer than 5 minutes to explain, as most will, then you can chunk it and you could make a series of videos to work through that concept, which is really a good way to go about it anyway. Screencastify works well on Chromebooks and on desktop computers with the Chrome browser. It is not compatible with iOS or Android mobile devices. So just keep that in mind. There are lots of other apps though that do work on mobile devices for capturing your screen. Screencast-O-Matic is pretty universal, and this one is the one between these two that I usually prefer. Screencast-O-Matic is a browser, you can use it right from your browser, or if you create an account on Screencast-O-Matic, you can download and install a desktop app, and so that would allow you to run the recorder even if you don't have internet. This one is also free. There are paid versions too, but the free version gives you, this one allows a 15-minute time limit. And then if you do pay for the paid versions, there are some more added editing features, and you can also share out some personalized access to your videos when you're done. But I would say that I use both of these. It just depends on what project I'm working on and where I need the video to end up. I haven't paid for either one of them. So usually you don't really need some of those added features. Screencast-O-Matic is available on iOS devices and Android devices. There's an app for it on both. Okay, so let's look at each one individually here. Screencastify, the web address for Screencastify is in the chat area now. So you would go to Screencastify and you can see that I've already been here and I've already installed this app on my Chrome browser. If you haven't done that yet, you would see the opportunity to install it on your Chrome browser. Once it's installed, you'll get a little icon, the Screencastify arrow. It's this arrow here, the red one, but it'll be up in your Chrome tools. And that's how you start a screencast. So once you install the app, when you're ready to record your screen, you click on that little arrow up in your toolbar, and Screencastify will give you the option to record your browser tab. So I would be just recording what's in this tab. Or I could record my whole entire desktop, which my desktop's usually messy, so I usually don't choose that one. And then the webcam only would let me record my face while I'm talking with you. So then down below that, there's more options like to record your audio through your microphone and to embed your webcam. So that means it's going to record, because that's toggled on, it's going to record my tab, my screen, and my face. There are more options here. You'll see when I hit record, you'll see a countdown, 3, 2, 1, and then you know the recording starting, and you can change the number of seconds you want for that recording. Screencastify is nice because when I start the recording, I'll see drawing tools down at the bottom of my window. And that means that I can annotate what I'm recording on my screen while I'm recording it. So you can circle things, you can point to things, you can draw lines to things, underline things. So that's nice as well. If you're recording something that has audio, then you would want to turn on the tab audio. So I'm going to give this a try. It might get a little funky because I'm recording in Zoom and now I'm going to record in the screencast. And my camera is kind of doing both. But now you can see that I'm recording in my tab. My video from Screencastify is down in the bottom right corner. That's where it's going to stay. And my drawing tools are off to the side. So the drawing tools just work pretty simply. I can draw and point to things. And then there's an eraser if I need to erase anything. When I'm done recording, I click the pause button. And then I click the stop button or the end recording button. So now Screencastify gives me a couple of choices over here. It's previewing my video right now so that I can see how it turned out. I can use the scissors to trim that video. So maybe I have some bits at the front and the end that need to come off. And then off to the side, I have options. And those options are it's uploading to Google Drive right now. But once it's finished uploading to my Google Drive, then I have the option to share it to my Google Classroom, to publish it to YouTube, or I can get embed code, like if I wanted to put it on my school's website or something. But now you can see that I'm recording in my. Okay, so again, I got to that by clicking the red arrow at the top of my Chrome browser after I installed Screencastify. And I chose what source I wanted to record, and then I clicked the record button. So because I installed this on my Chrome browser, it automatically knew where to save that file on my Google Drive. And there's a folder now on my Google Drive called Screencastify, and that's where all my recordings go. So I'm gonna pause there and see if it has any questions before I switch over to Screencast-O-Matic. Anybody have any questions about Screencastify? Has anybody in here used Screencastify?
I have, Chris, and I do have a question. Is there a reason you paused and then stopped it, the recording?
No, nope. I generally, just my own personal preference, I generally pause before I stop in case I want to continue. It's not like
Okay.
it's final to me. Then I could resume
Interesting.
my recording.
Okay, that's good to know. My personal favorite is how it saves right into Google Drive because I know it's there. I know how to get to it. I can share right out of it. So I've used that
Yep.
more than anything else.
Yeah, that is really nice. And that's a distinction between the two, because in Screencast-O-Matic, you'll see that that's only an option in the paid version, the auto save to Google Drive. So if you are a Google user and you use it exclusively, then that might be a plus on the Screencastify side.
I think any screen recording is harder than you think it's going to be. I've made 4-minute videos. It took me 17 tries and lots of bloopers.
You have to get really okay with it not being perfect, because it will never be perfect. And so when I first started making tutorials and videos, I wasted way too much time redoing each one over and over and over again. And each time I redid it, there was a flaw in a different area. So I might have fixed the first flaw, but then made another. And so it just happens.
Yeah, I've done the same thing.
I think one of the other tools, sorry.
No, go ahead, Pat.
No, I was just going to say, down the same road as the two of you were talking about, I try to always write out like step 1, step 2, step 3. So I at least keep myself, I have some notes either on the side of my computer, you know, sticky notes with the topics that I want to do, to make sure that I have like a little outline or slides that I don't share on another device. Like, so if I have my slides that I want to talk about, you know, like even doing a webinar, sometimes I'll have the slides on my phone so I can know what's next and I can take a quick look at it and see if I'm going to be in the right place. So that's just, I'm easily distractible. So another noise would pull me off the screen.
Having a script definitely helps, but not a sentence by sentence script, because it's really hard to follow that when you're on camera. But just notes and maybe an outline is a really good idea. Another thing that I find helps is maybe I don't feel the pressure to put yourself in every video. You can turn that webcam off if what you're showing is more important than them seeing your face. It's okay to just show what's happening on your screen and not see your face. As a matter of fact, it can be distracting if they see both sometimes. So you have to think about what is the focus of what I'm talking about. However, I will say there's a lot of research behind students feeling more connected to online content if they see the face of their teacher in it often. So, you know, it's a juggle. Is my face in that video going to make them distracted from what I'm trying to show? Or is my face going to help build that connection? So you just have to kind of decide that based on your learners in your instance. It really depends. And a lot of that depends on age level too, and your expressions and your way. So it just all varies and all depends. Yeah, I definitely like to, I'm just watching the chat too. I definitely pause a lot while I'm recording. Like if I feel a cough coming, I'll pause so that I can restart it. If I feel like, you know, maybe someone behind me is up walking around and they might pop in, I pause, because you can always resume. Or sometimes I feel myself getting off track, so I'll pause so I can look down on my notes and restart recording. So definitely a good thing. All right, so let me share my screen again and we'll talk about the other option, which was Screencast-O-Matic. And you know, as with any tools, you just, I would recommend trying them both and then see which one you like. And maybe you'll use one for certain situations and a different one for other situations. So Screencast-O-Matic is screencastomatic.com. The hyphens, I'll put the link in the chat area here. Hyphens are optional when you're going to that website address, so you can just smush it all together as one word if you want. This is another free one. You can pay if you want to have more features. The one thing I like about this is there's no login required. You can log in so that you can see some of the videos you've made in the past if you want to save them online, but you don't have to log in. You can just start recording without logging in, which can be really helpful for students, because sometimes students aren't, depending on how a school sets up their devices and manages their devices, they may not be able to log into things unless it's a school-wide decision to give them that access. So that's another perk for Screencast-O-Matic, that you can record without having to do that. So you would just click the record button. when you get to the Screencast-O-Matic website, and it is going to launch the recorder. So it's a couple of steps for that recorder to open. It's really just you giving your computer permission to record your screen. The first time you do this, it takes an extra step. You have to allow, it'll bring up windows asking for extra permissions. After that, it's pretty quick. So there's going to be a lag because I am recording in Zoom and I'm recording on the Screencast tool. So it really does go a little bit faster than what it appears, but you will get the dotted line box in Screencast-O-Matic. That's another reason I like it, because I'm not just recording the whole tab. I can specify exactly what I want to record on my screen, which I like quite a bit. I like that control. Here again, I can choose to include my webcam or not. Turn that right back off. Or I can do both. So I can do screen or webcam or both. And then down below that, I have some audio options. Computer audio means that you would be recording sound that's coming from something that you have on your screen. That's not available in the free version of Screencast-O-Matic, but it is in the paid. But you can capture your voice. So then you would just click the record button. It gives you a countdown as well. And now you're recording. When you're done recording, click pause and then click done. It used to be that the word done took you to, oh, I can't remember how it used to be, but there was the word done and the trash can were too close together before, and I would often end up trashing my recording as soon as I finished it. It's a little bit more clear now. But when you click done, then you have some options. You can save your video and upload it to the Screencast-O-Matic website, in which case it'll prompt you to create an account. Or you can edit the video or quick share. It'll give you a quick link so that you can just share the link with somebody in a quick message. I'm going to click save and upload. So here's my video, and I can preview it. I can trim it a little bit. So just like I could with Screencastify, I can take a little off the front, a little off the back if needed. And then I have some options for what to do with it. Save it to Screencast-O-Matic. I'm not pointing to these things. Oh no, you can't see this? Oh, I know, because it popped. Yeah, it popped out of my browser. Well, thanks for letting me know, Dawn. Let me change my share so that you can see it. That would be very helpful. Is that better?
I've experienced that before too with other things, because you tell the system what to look at, but then you change so that it's no longer looking at it. So I've experienced that too.
Yep. Can you see my Screencast-O-Matic window now with the example video that says screen recorder and then it has an orange button, blue button?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. So when I was sharing my Zoom screen, I was sharing my browser and the finished video popped out in its own window. So I appreciate you letting me know that. So now that I have saved this video, here's the trimming that I talked about. I clicked done and I have this option now. So now that I've trimmed it and I have the video how I want, I can save it as a video file, which means that one will save it to my computer. I can upload it to Screencast-O-Matic, or I can upload it to YouTube. So you see Google Drive is not an option here. I'm going to cancel for now because I'm not going to actually go through the process of saving this. There are more publishing options. So I can add these other options here, but only in the upgrade. So only in the paid version. I'm actually going to cancel and back out of this completely because I'm not going to save that recording. But Screencast-O-Matic is just a matter of clicking the recording button when you get to the website, launching the recorder, and then framing your recording. So 2 different tools. You can see the pros and cons of each one. I would encourage you to try them both out and then pick the one that fits your needs the best. Maybe you use one, but your students use a different one. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever works.
One thing, Chris, too, that I noticed, you had a comment there about iOS. I recorded directly on my iPhone just through an iOS recording tool. So just because Screencastify doesn't have the app, you can still record, which you've probably experienced, but just so everybody knows.
Yeah, actually, there's lots of apps. If you just do a search for screencasting apps, there are lots of them, like EduCreate is one, Show Me is another one. Now, those all started as free apps, and I think they're not necessarily free any longer, but there's oodles of free apps that you can install directly on your mobile devices, and that's their sole purpose, is to record your screen.
Yeah, and just so I didn't even have to use an app, though, is what I mean. Like, it was directly through iOS.
Through your iOS.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can. If you go into the settings into your control center, you can allow for screen sharing right from your control center, which is when you swipe up on your phone. Yeah, good point. So just some tips that I have for you is keep your screencast really simple, because there's an awful lot to look at on a screen if you're not organized about it. And so you want to make sure that you really simplify it and stay focused on whatever the learning goal is. So if you plan that ahead of time, like Pat said, and make some notes for yourself, and maybe even write a script or at least some bullet points of the main things you want to be sure to cover, then your video will be more focused. And encourage your students to do the same. Make sure that when you're talking in your video that you keep it very conversational. That just helps with the engagement of the video. Tell a story in the video, something that has happened to you, or something that you can relate the concept to that you're instructing on. And then keep it short. And I have these two numbers here just as prompts for me. So in various studies about the length of videos, it seems that after 6 minutes, you lose about 50% of your students. So after 6 minutes, half of your students are no longer watching that video. I will say that in the organization I used to work in, we had analytics for all the videos that were in our courses, and this was too much. After 3 minutes, it was dropping off. Almost 100% of kids were not watching after 3 minutes. So this study that brought these numbers up was K to 20. So there was a lot of college students in there too. K to 12, it's a much smaller number. So I would recommend keeping your videos between 3 and 5 minutes. Like I would even say maybe you aim for 2 to 3 minutes. It depends on your concept, it depends on your students, and it depends on how you present it. But know that definitely if you go longer than 5 or 6 minutes, you've lost half your audience. So keep that in mind.
Right, and if you share a whole, one of the things that we do with our World of Learning when the videos are recorded, some of our instructors will actually go to different parts in the video and say, this is where this piece is. This is if they're for kids going back or kids who are going to get participation points for watching a video. They actually let them know where some of the concepts are, because sometimes when kids go back to watch a video, if they can't find it right away, they'll just check out. Same idea.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. And you know, when you start using video in your classes, especially if your students are going to be not in the classroom watching the video, but maybe at home watching the video, it takes a little teaching how to learn from video. I mean, we all watch videos, and we know kids are engaged in recreational videos or entertainment videos, but watching an instructional video might actually take some deliberate teaching them how to benefit from that. So, you know, pairing it with note-taking and giving them some note-taking strategies or graphic organizers that they can use while they're watching the video. Helping your students know that it's okay to pause and rewind. Encouraging them to watch the video fully first, helps them get the big idea, then go back and skim through it. And then that way they're putting the pieces together. So definitely some things that you may want to do to help your students learn better from instructional videos. All right, just some other stats I thought were interesting is that these are some of the reasons that students say that they watch videos. So these are the reasons they gave for watching videos. So, or for considering videos to be effective. So obviously because the topic they were watching was interesting, because it was relatable, The speaker made them rate it as effective. It had professional video quality, which I was surprised that that was up as high as it was, but it does matter. And viewers who watch 2 or more instructional videos per week, I included this because I thought it was important to see just how fast that's climbing. And of course now I'd be interested to see where 2020 falls. But and these are instructional videos. Obviously they're watching a lot more videos than this for entertainment. But just look at the difference over the years. This is also interesting. If you have your videos on a platform where you can get some analytics, it's really helpful because then you know what time of day are my kids tuning into these things? What days of the week are my students accessing the videos or the content in general? That was interesting to see that it's, I mean, weekends are big and then the week just kind of swoops. So if you put heavy content on a Wednesday, or a Tuesday, it might not be the best day to do it. So I won't go through every single one of these, but that keeping it simple is super important because we have 2 channels that we kind of take in information, the visual and the auditory, and each one only can do so much. If you pair them together, they can do more, but you can overload them. So some things to do that can help mitigate that is use signaling, like I'm doing with this pointer, drawing lines, circling things. That helps people process the information that you're sharing. Segment, break your content into chunks, like we said, maybe a 3-minute chunk, but also on your screen, break things into sections or chunks. And weed out all the extra stuff. So use music only if you need it, maybe music at the beginning and end, but fade it so that it's not overpowering a voice. Get rid of clutter. Don't use graphics for too much for decoration. It's okay to have something for decoration, but if you just use decorative graphics and it overpowers the message, then it's distracting. And animated graphics, that just kind of pulls a lot of attention away unless it's animated and it's relevant animations. And added text can help, but there can be too much text. So in these slides, we have some information, some links to even more information if you want some more ideas. There are a slew of tutorials, web-based or video-based tutorials about how to use Screencast-O-Matic. There's a full guide for using Screencastify. And Kathy Schrock's been around for quite a while, but she has a really rich website about screencasting, including rubrics that you can use if you want to evaluate screencasts that students are making. So these are available in the slides, and these slides will be posted on the website a little bit later today. So with that, I'm going to stop again. I've done a whole lot of talking. I just want to see if anyone has any questions, anything we can help you with around creating videos, screencasting. I was going to have people actually give it a try, but I was worried about time, and I can see that we're right up against the clock. So I'll share our contact info. So if you are working on this on your own and you run into problems and have questions, you can certainly reach out to me or to Pat. Brenda, Tracy's here. There's a lot of people that can help you if you have questions while you're trying this on your own. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording, but I will stay here. And if you have a question, feel free to use your mic or type in the chat or hang on, and we will definitely answer your questions.